How's it going, YouTube? I thought I'd do a little video here. Just kind of talk to you guys about how to make money farming where I live, and I'm sure it's the same in most of your areas, but more specifically my area. You know, these beans here, they look pretty good, but grain bins. Grain bins make us more money than any planter, any tractor, combine, new gadget on the farm, etc. Those grain bins make us more money than any of that stuff. There's no technology, no seed you can plant, none of that that'll make you more money than a grain bin. Now, I understand you have to have all that other stuff, you know, to raise a crop, to put in a bin, but, you know, that's kind of a given. But grain bins, I tell you, have made us so much more money, and being able to forward contract grain and, you know, having, you know, say 20,000 bushels of soybeans on storage, and then, you know, like when we take our stuff to Cargill, they, you know, they obviously, every elevator has a basis, and Cargill generally has a better basis than what an elevator does, because an elevator has to buy the beans from you and then turn around and sell them to Cargill. Well, we bypass the local elevators if we can on certain crops like wheat, where it doesn't make sense for a timely or efficiency standpoint to put the wheat in the bin, and rather just take it to the elevator at harvest. If you can forward contract ahead there, you can generally get a pretty good price. But that being said, corn and soybeans are different. You know, the basis difference between Cargill or ADM or Bunge, you know, versus what our local elevator is, you know, a good 50 cents a bushel difference. I mean, you know, if you take $8, if you can get $8 at Cargill, well, the local elevator is going to offer you $7.50. And then if beans are, that means beans would be trading at like $8.35 on the Chicago Board of Trade. So, you know, you've got, and by having beans in the bin, say, like I said, 20,000 bushels or whatever, you can talk to the merchandiser at those, you know, Cargill, the ethanol plant, Bunge, ADM, wherever, and if you can deliver said large amount of bushels in 1 month or in a certain time frame, you can really negotiate the basis. Every year we pay for our trucking costs just off of negotiating the basis, just based solely on having those bins in storage. You know, that's not including the money we already made by forward contracting ahead of time. Now we're negotiating the basis on top of that. You know, those bins up there, Grandpa built those bins in the 70s. There's 20,000 bushels of storage here at Dad's house. And those bins, we fill them every year. And those bins every year make us at least $1.25 a bushel to $1 a bushel for harvest efficiency. You know, getting, as far as getting stuff out and timely, being able to run later at night, you know, not having to depend on the 9 to 5 guys at the elevators. And there are some elevators that will stay open later and work with you if you're running, but most generally they're not going to run the same hours you want to run. And so you got your harvest efficiency there, getting your stuff done. Then you have the ability to harvest, say you harvest grain a little wetter, you can dry it down. Or if you have some poor quality grain with some really good quality, some really good quality grain, you can blend those two grains to get an average quality so you don't get any dockage. you know, those grain bins make you more money than anything else on that farm, and that's why we're putting up another 25,000 bushel bin, you know, this next summer. And it's just, it's the best thing that we can spend our money on. You know, it's gonna cost around probably $2 a bushel to put that bin up, but in 3 years we should make that back no problem. We should have a good return on our investment with that grain bin, and especially the way the commodity markets are, they're so volatile. You know, being able to hold on to your stuff is, you know, is pretty priceless. You can't, I mean, it's hard to put a price on what that's worth because it's worth so much. You know, it's for instance, this year we contracted 15,000 bushels of soybeans at a $10 cash price. And so now, once the subsidies kick in, that now is an 1160. We've got 15,000 bushels contracted at 1160 now. So you take 1160 and cash price for beans at Cargill's, like, we'll just call it, it's not this, it's lower than this, but we'll just call it $8 for simple math. That's $3.60 a bushel that those bins made us this year. $3.60 a bushel. You know, times 15,000 bushels, it's something like $50-some thousand that those bins have made us this year, just based upon that fact alone. And then you take, you know, like now our wheat, we've got 10,000 bushels of soft wheat sold for next summer at our local elevator, because they're pretty good. Local elevators are pretty good on wheat. But, and it costs us, you know, during harvest, we don't generally have time to truck our own grain to the city, so it costs 30 cents a bushel to get it to the city. Well, if I would have sold it to the city versus selling it to my local elevator, it would have cost me another 15 cents to get it. You know, it would have cost myself 15 cents selling it to the city. Instead, I made 15 cents selling it to my local elevator. But anyway, you know, we've got that contracted soft wheat at $5.50. 10,000 bushels at $5.50. Well, now that, you know, that same contract is like, has a 4 in front of it now. You know, just off of 25,000 bushels of forward contracting grain, we've made over $60,000 in the last, you know, 6 months. I mean, that's free money. That's not like we're raising, you know, any more bushels than what's out here, you know, so to speak. That's just the price difference of being able to forward contract grain. And, you know, but on the flip side of that, it could have been, you know, the prices could have went up from when we sold. But, you know, you always sell enough to pay your expenses and know your cost of production. And then once you know that and have all that figured out, you know, then it's all about controlling your greed. You know, how much money do you want to make? In this day and age, if you're making $1,